Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Prime Sports World. And we had to change up a little bit of our broadcasting schedule. We've decided to do the What's Next for the NFC North and the AFC West. And why have we paired those two divisions together? Because of the Khalil Mack trade. If you haven't seen the details, we will go into it here briefly, here shortly. I'm David Huppin right there, TJ Hopkins. If you're looking for consistent content on Facebook or YouTube, Prime Sports World is a pretty good place to be. Go live 4 or 5 times a week, bringing the most up-to-date content. Also want to thank our friends over there for sponsoring here at Prime Sports World. Thank you very much. Let your presence be felt. I'll put the link to their website on our Facebook page, along with the NFL Supreme Facebook page as well. And not to waste any time, TJ, we're not even going to talk about these two divisions. Let's first get into the Khalil Mack trade. Let's talk about it first on the Chicago Bears end. So the deal is Khalil Mack will be a member of the Los Angeles Chargers. The Bears are expected to receive some of the deals have not been all the details of this trade have not been totally finalized, but it's expected that the Bears will receive a 2022 second-round pick, which I think is the 48th pick overall, and the 2023 sixth-round pick. I think there are some conditions on it that where it can become a better pick than that, but I have not seen those details yet. I imagine those details will come out at some point. On the Bears end of this, so just focusing on the Bears side of this, what is your first impression of the trade, and where do we go from here?
My first impression was, damn, bro, you could have got way more than what you got. If I'm Ryan Poles, my initial reaction was I was, you saw in the group chat, I said Poles effing up already, because I'm not mad at the trade at all, right? Trades happen. It's a part of
And
the
it was
big.
probably time. I mean, Khalil Mack has spent most of the last 2 seasons injured. I believe
It's
he finished both of the last 2 seasons on IR. So not doing us a
it's a,
whole lot of good when he can't play. When he's not
and
available.
it's a part of the business. Right? Trades happen. I get that. Not mad at the trade. I'm mad at what we got back. We could have got way more, right? So if I'm the Bears, obviously you want arguably my best player on my entire roster. Okay, I want your first round pick. Nah, I'm not giving you my first round pick. Not for a guy that, like you said, who's finished the last 2 seasons on IR and has given me a combined 15 sacks in 2 years. Not doing that. Okay, your second round pick. All right, I can give you my second. What about a third? Nah, that's a little too rich. Okay, that's second and a fourth. Nah, still too rich. Second and a fifth? Nah, second and a sixth. Okay, but the sixth is next year, right? I'm pretty sure Ryan Poles tried to get as much as he possibly could,
Yeah,
right?
and I imagine there weren't a lot of teams clamoring to trade for a guy who's, as I mentioned, has finished each of the last 2 years on IR, and he has an enormous cap. And the Bears got out of his money entirely. We don't have to pay any of his money this at least next season for sure. I think we only have to pay a small amount of it this year. Um,
Six.
yeah, so small amount of his contract this year. I actually think as far as the value, maybe it's not great, but I think this is the Bears team that understands. Like, hey, we need to rebuild. Like, we need to consolidate some of our assets. Like Khalil Mack, we don't know if he's going to be still the same player next year. Like he's been injured a lot now, and
And
he's becoming more of a liability than we can't guarantee his presence on the football field week
and
day to day.
one Bears page that I keep tabs on Twitter. Like, I don't follow them, but I keep tabs on them. What that means is if somebody I follow follows them and they retweet their stuff, that's how I see it. He said, the person who runs this page he said Poles didn't view this roster as a few players away. He viewed this roster as poor, and now he's going to do something about it. Let's see how it goes. But he's right.
He's not
This
wrong. His roster's
he's
not
right.
a piece away
This
from being a Super Bowl
right.
contender.
This roster right. Exactly. This roster's not even few pieces away from a playoff run, any kind of playoff run, making the playoffs in general, right? So Bears fans are initially mad like the Bears always find ways to get worse. I got trading our best player. We went 8-8 in 2 years with him, right? Worst in the and worse this year. So whether we have like having Khalil Mack versus not having him, how does it make a difference right now?
It straight up does not. This is not a team that's a few pieces away. This is a team that's a full offensive line revamp away, and you need to get draft picks. Like you need to build through the draft. Like that's like we could
And
talk about free agency till we're blue to death, but like until the Bears show a competency on the football field, free
it
agents are
doesn't
going to come
matter.
here. It's not gonna. They're not going
Thank
to
you.
come here. Like they're not going
And,
to be coming. Like we're probably not going to get Terran Armstead. I imagine that he wants to go to somewhere where he has a chance to win a Super Bowl. We're probably not. We're not going to get the best of the best wide receivers. Like we're going to be a team that needs to build to the draft, and so in order to build to the draft, you have to have draft picks to do that. And
and
we don't have a
what's
first round pick this year, so we got the second round. We get the second rounder out of the trade. I like it. I actually think I'm okay with the value too. I
and
would have rather if the
what's
fifth round pick had been this year, but I
right.
do believe there will be parameters on this pick that if Khalil Mack plays 70% of the season, it'll become like a fourth round pick. Or if they end
And
up or if the Chargers end up going to the Super Bowl, Khalil Mack, this will become an even better pick. I think that will be a thing because
and
I
this
haven't seen the full
just
detail.
and they just released the grades of the trade. All right, the Chargers they get an A minus, rightly so. Right, you get the guy that can impact the field right away. Right, he can help your team right now. The Bears got a B for this trade. Right,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
they got a B. Like if this trade like this isn't like Denver Seattle where Denver just was Seattle got like a D plus for the trade, right? Because you get
I
Drew
mean,
Lock.
I don't really understand that.
We
I mean,
like
all
because
right.
it's mostly because of Drew Lock, right? It's Drew Lock, Noah Fant, who again potential player. We don't know what Noah like. We still trying to figure out what exactly Noah Fant is, and the rest of it. So if I'm like, obviously if I'm the
Man,
Chargers,
that is some harsh trading. Like, that is just
if
straight
I'm
up
the
my opinion.
Chargers,
I
if
think
I'm the
both. I think when it comes to the other trade, I think both pretty well. But
if I'm the well, it's not because if you're Seattle, you got to answer the most important question,
yeah, you got to
right?
hit on the picks, obviously. But
And you got to hit on the picks. So Chicago, the one thing that folks like Colin Cowherd, I don't agree with a lot of he says, but I do agree with this one thing. When he does talk about Chicago, he's he says what Chicago fans need to hear. Let go at 85. Let go of the whole like change the whole the mantra of like the monsters of the midway. The game don't like that's not the game no more. It's
yeah,
not like defense is cool, but they don't want to see 18 to 15. They don't want to see 21-14 games. They want to see knock them down, shoot them out. They want to see shoot like that. That's what they want to see. They want to see my quarterback and your quarterback throw the ball all over the field. They could if they turn the league to 7-on-7, they would love that, right?
true.
That's and if you're Chicago, that's the one thing that's for 50 years now. That's the one thing that's been holding us back. Bad quarterback play and bad offense all around.
So let's move on from the Khalil Mack trade. We can address it a little bit later on the Chargers side of this. Let's talk about the other things on this list here. So we got the new head coach. It's Matt Eberflus. He comes from the Indianapolis Colts. And let's talk about Justin Fields in year two. What are your
Yes.
expectations for the head coach and the player? Now that it's clear, maybe this team isn't going to push to be a playoff team. They're probably
So
going to go for a full rebuild.
well,
What is your expectations of coach and Justin?
focus like that's it. You just focus on Justin Fields, right? Do Eberflus has to come in and do what Matt Nagy failed to do, and that's like really focus on the development of Justin Fields because he couldn't do that last year because Justin Fields had to try to develop while trying to save his head coach's job, and that's a tough slot to be in. So if you're
Impossible.
Justin,
It's an impossible slot. Like there's no scenario where that would have gone.
that yeah, and if you're
Like
Justin Fields,
in real talk, if the Bears when the Bears had been smarter, they would have cleaned house last year, and then they would have allowed this rookie quarterback to develop without the expectations of being a playoff team. But that's the Bears.
that's the Bears, and that's you're also a franchise where we already knew the GM was out, we knew the head coach was out, We knew some kind of overhaul was coming up top, and I'm pretty sure within the next year or two, the one person that everybody wants gone, and Ted Phillips, he's gonna be gone. Remember, I said that they interviewed Omar Khan, but it wasn't for the GM spot. Omar Khan is gonna be the Bears' next president of operations. You heard it here first, and if I'm wrong, I'll come out and say I'm wrong. Obviously, focus on Justin Fields. Like Justin Fields never developed a rapport with Allen Robinson. He never developed a rapport with Cole Kmet. He never developed one with any of the starting or even second string receivers because he was throwing to third and fourth stringers and guys trying to make the team. Right? Every time we looked up and saw Justin Fields making the play in preseason, who was he throwing to? J.P. Holtz, Jesper Horsted, who had a hell of a catch against the Raiders for which basically won the Bears the game. Jesper, I think it was J.P. Holtz who caught that touchdown in double traffic. Why? Because the rapport was there. What's the one thing Justin Fields said at the end of the season? He said him and Mooney are going down to Florida to work out together. Love to hear it.
Good.
That's what we need. Absolutely love that.
Yeah, right? I think this focus on the development of Justin Fields. As for their notable free agents, the three guys I have listed there, they're all gone.
You think they're gone?
I think there's zero chance any of them. I mean, I honestly I could be wrong. I don't expect Allen Robinson to be back. I don't expect Hicks to be back. I don't expect Andy Dalton to be back. I don't expect Jimmy Grant. I don't expect Jermaine Ifedi to be back. Hell, maybe Jermaine Ifedi. Keith Grant is kind of in between. Jason Taylor's sure not be back. He may retire. Yeah, this is the team that's going to have a whole. It's going to be a retooled offense. Like they're Allen Robinson, Akeem Hicks.
I would bring Jakeem Grant back for the simple fact he was a mid-season acquisition and he made the Pro Bowl. Like mid-season acquisitions don't make the Pro Bowl.
That's
when
true.
They get traded to a new team.
I mean, he also benefit the fact that nobody else had an outstanding special team season this year. So his team he just stood out because he had a good special season in the NFC.
And he's dynamic offensively. If you get the ball in his hands, he's fast as hell.
You could use him a lot like Cordell Patterson, only without the
size.
Yeah, without the size. Cordell Patterson.
So I agree with you. I think Allen Robinson's gone. Unfortunately, I would try my damnedest to bring him back.
I would let him walk. Dude. I don't think because paying him a bunch of money to be a kind of mediocre, he's already shown that he'll check out. Man, I think he's finished. I think he was checked out most of last season. It was pretty apparent. And
it's unfortunate because, again, I'm pretty sure he has absolutely nothing against Justin Fields. I'm pretty sure there's nothing. He has nothing against him. I'm 100% certain all of that was geared towards Nagy and the offense.
I tend to agree with you on that. Let's move on from the Bears to the Detroit Lions. Keep this kind of short and brief because it not a lot to hear to say. Dan Campbell, year 2, future quarterback. They have 2 first-round picks. They have the second overall pick, and then they have the last pick in the first round. Notable free agents: Nick Williams, Charles Harris, Alex Anzalone. Nobody really moves the needle in any kind of significant way. So what we expect in the Detroit Lions this offseason? What is next?
Well, because of those 2 first-round picks, a lot of people are thinking they're going quarterback. With one of those, at least that pick 32, that end of the first round pick.
Yeah.
A lot of people think they're going to go quarterback. I don't see that. That also doesn't help you because you're Jared Goff is still young enough to the point where you can get a solid decade out of his play if you want to. Right? Jared Goff is not at the stage of his career where he's a bridge quarterback yet.
Okay.
No, I'm serious. He's not that. He's not at that stage yet. All right? Get the guy some, if I'm them, I try to get Jared Goff some weapons. I at least kick the tires on that before I just decide to just move off of him altogether, because if you don't do that and you just go quarterback, guess what you're doing? You're still in the same boat that you're in.
True.
Young team, a a bunch of potential players.
I mean, Jared Goff's only 27. Like he's really not that old.
He's not old. Like, bro, I'm a year older than Jared Goff. If that.
His birthday is in October. So,
bro, okay, so I'm like 8 months older than Jared Goff. I just turned 28. Like a week ago, I just turned 28. That's not old.
No, it's not. I mean, you essentially could get another at least 5 years out of Jared Goff if you wanted to, and you could build the team around him. So you don't necessarily have to pressure to take a quarterback at any point during this draft, unless you want to take a flyer on somebody way later. Like if Sam Howell sitting there in the third round, I think that would be a worthwhile gamble. I sort of agree with you on the Jared Goff thing, because you kind of swayed me on it actually. Because when I first thought I thought for sure they'd take a quarterback, somebody in the future. Jared Goff would be there till his contract's up, and then he'd mentor whoever the heir apparent is. But Jared Goff is young still. I kind of like your rationale there. What are we expecting out of Dan? What are we expecting out of Dan Campbell?
No more biting kneecaps. Like no more biting kneecaps. Okay, like now, if you're Dan Quinn, your first year, you did what you wanted to. You hopefully did what you wanted to accomplish, which was you already knew that you weren't going to win a lot of games, right? But the one thing you wanted to do was establish a new culture. When you think of Detroit, you think blue collar, hard working, gritty, grimy, in your face. All right, I'm gonna take it to you. I might lose, but god damn it, bring your hard hat and lunch pail when you come see me because you gonna know that you fought me. Kind of culture. They were in a lot of games this year. They just could they get that one game against Chicago in Chicago. You had 4 trips to the red zone, and you
they could have beat the Ravens if Justin Tucker doesn't kick the kick of the year.
Kick of a lifetime. No one's gonna top that. No one is ever gonna top 66 yards?
Yeah.
Unless they're on steroids, and they're not gonna do that. You had a game against the Green Bay Packers where you played great for one half. And then the second half happened, and it's like that's why you're the Detroit Lions. That's that one right there. Right? Minnesota, you basically sealed Mike Zimmer's fate when you beat them.
When they got their first foot of the season, they basically sealed his fate. I think Dan Campbell, because one thing he accomplished on this team is these guys played hard for him.
Yes.
There was a clear disconnect between head coach and team 2 years ago, and Dan Campbell came in. This guy clear. They obviously fought hard for him, and they found a little bit of a gem in Amon-Ra St. Brown in the draft last season. So they continue to develop him and continue to put weapons around him. I could see Detroit being like, what's next team? Like, I don't think you're going to be a playoff team next season, but if you can continue to develop and continue to get better and better and better, and continue building in the trenches as we talked about, bolster up your offensive line, bolster up your defensive line. I mean, continue.
How many? Right. So so you went Penei Sewell 7th overall last year, right?
Yep.
Build that up. Keep building.
Their offensive line. You can make the argument they might have one of the better offensive lines in the league. Like Frank Ragnow might be one of the best centers in the league, and they have Penei Sewell. They have a good. The other left tackle on the team is good too.
I do know one person is happy to see Khalil Mack gone, and that's definitely him. Like he is. Whew! I ain't gotta deal with that twice a year no more. Thank you.
So moving on from the Detroit Lions, let's jump right into the Minnesota Vikings. The most important question when it comes to Minnesota is Kirk Cousins and his future, and then they have massive defensive question marks. New head coach. They have the 12th overall pick. Notable free agents: Anthony Barr, Patrick Peterson, Sheldon Richardson. Their new head coach is Kevin O'Connell from the Los Angeles Rams. He was the OC for them before he took this job in Minnesota. So, expectations for the coach. What do we expect out of Kirk Cousins? What do you think they'll do with that 12th overall?
Pat, the one thing that's been hampering the Minnesota Vikings the last handful of years is their defense, the secondary. Right? They offensively, you're fine. Offense has never been an issue for the Minnesota Vikings. Right? Kirk Cousins quietly had his best seasons last year. He didn't even throw double-digit picks last year, did he?
No, he didn't.
So you got him. You got arguably the best receiver duo in football. If somebody was to come to me and say Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen was the best 1-2 punch at receiver, I would not knock their argument. I was like,
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that point.
and you have one of the best running backs in football, Dalvin Cook. It don't get too much. Like, you can probably name two dudes that you would want over Dalvin Cook. One of them's name's Derrick Henry. The other one's Jonathan Taylor. Other than that, that's a short conversation.
Yeah, I mean, you can have an Alvin Kamara conversation if you want. You can maybe have a Austin Eckler conversation if you want, but that's where the line is. Like, pretty much.
Nip in the butt. So the one thing they got to figure out. All right, Irv Smith. Do I have what I think I have in Irv Smith Jr.? It's time to figure it out. All right, I let my what you call it? I let my safety net
Security
go.
blanket.
Yeah, I let the best security blanket I've ever had go in Kyle Rudolph. I let old reliable walk. That's the phrase I was looking for. Old reliable. I let old reliable go. All right, Irv Smith, come on, bro. It's time. Flip side, Daniil Hunter is one dude. Just one. You tried to kick the tires on Yannick Ngakoue. Didn't work. Anthony Barr. Do you bring him back? Do you let him walk? Pat Pete. Do you bring him back? Do you let him walk?
I think that really depends on what you do with the draft. If you draft Derek Stingley Jr., I think for sure to bring Patrick Peterson back. Who better than to mentor a LSU Tiger than a former LSU Tiger and Patrick Peterson? Yeah, like I think it really depends on what you do with the draft. If you don't go defensive back in the draft, I think Patrick Peterson is kind of a luxury that I pass on. I don't know.
If I'm them, I haven't generated enough pressure to nearly my liking. Like the one thing I gotta focus on, I gotta be Buddy in Green Bay. I don't give a fuck about everybody else in the division. I gotta beat him. The best way to beat him is I gotta generate pressure. I gotta do that. Like, I don't care. Like, I have to do that, right? So if what 12th overall, yeah, I gotta go edge. I gotta go edge.
I could for sure see a scenario where maybe they go corner. Like if Derek Stingley Jr. is sitting there at 12, I think you'd have a hard time passing.
Yeah, that's a tough sell.
I don't know.
That's a tough sell. I bless you. That's a tough sell. I can't poke a hole in that argument. If Stingley's there at 12, unless I'm trying to think like who's an edge rush that could also be there.
I mean, Jermaine Johnson will still be there. He will for sure still be there at 13. I mean, Trayvon Walker, the kid from Georgia who had a crazy pro day or combine, he could potentially be there at 13. He's been creeping up into the top 10 a lot of latest mocks. Derek Stingley realistically could still be there at 12.
You're not wrong.
But yeah, I think you for sure go defense. I think your offense is fine if you're Minnesota Vikings. This is a team that needs to address their offense, their defense in the worst way. And Daniil Hunter has been hurt each of the last 2 years too. Like when you talk about Khalil Mack, Daniil Hunter's been dealing with the same situation the last 2 years. He's ended both of the last 2 years on IR.
Yeah,
and as good as he is.
Yeah, CBS, the mock draft at CBS has them taking Stingley Jr. at 12.
Yeah.
Pretty much every mock draft we've seen from since the beginning has had Stingley Jr. going to the Vikings at 12.
Because I think the crazy thing is that like Derek Stingley Jr. at one point was like a top 5 pick, and the fact that he had like 2 down seasons and he didn't participate in the combine, falls like okay.
Well, they said they said the same thing about Eddie Jackson. He was coming out of Bama. That guy was a late first round pick, tears his ACL, and then
we get him in the 3rd round,
4th round.
Yeah, 4th round. Now, was he the highest paid safety for a hot minute?
Yeah, he was. Until what was it?
Until Jamal Adams got his deal.
I thought it was Justin Simmons in Denver.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah, so if I'm the Vikings, you go on defense, it's just to pick your poison of is it edge or is it secondary?
Yeah, totally agree with you on that. What do we make of Kirk Cousins, real quick? Do you expect him to be back on this? Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to say yeah, too. I mean, there are still a couple of trade destinations that are interesting. Like, let's say that the Steelers don't end up with Jimmy Garoppolo, which doesn't sound like that's going to be the case. Maybe the Steelers get involved with the trade with the Minnesota Vikings, give up Mason Rudolph and a 1st or a 2nd or something of that nature. I could see a scenario where he doesn't end up on. I want to say no, actually.
You're gonna say no.
Yeah, I
Okay,
think
well,
the Colts are interesting for Kirk Cousins. I think the Steelers are interesting. The Saints are also. Whoever doesn't win that Jimmy Garoppolo suit shakes, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are also. So I'll say no.
I'm gonna say yeah. I'm like the options out there. The options to replace him ain't better than him, in my opinion. Jimmy Garoppolo ain't better than him. Mitch ain't better than him. Right? You could have did a flop. Like you could have did a Carson Wentz, Kirk Cousins flop. Right? That's about as even as you get. But
I
they
mean,
ain't
I
do
guess
that. That's no that ass. Like that's about as even as you
I,
get.
I would I would rather have Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins has more upside than Carson.
I don't think there's a wrong answer in those. Like when you talk about those two dudes, I don't think there's a wrong answer. They both do the same thing. They both turn the ball over at the absolute worst time.
Moving on from the Minnesota Vikings, we got the Green Bay Packers. So we got Aaron Rodgers returning at least for one season. They have. I still have not seen the deal, like whatever his contract that he quote unquote signed.
Because it's
They're talking about
apparent.
cap casualties. We expect one of the Preston Smith or Darius Smith to get cut, and then talking about getting over the hump when it comes to the Green Bay Packers. Notable free agents: Devondre Campbell, Rasul Douglas, and Kevin King. Just because I had to put a third guy on there, they don't really have any notable. DeAndre Campbell is going to price himself way out of their price range. Rasul Douglas is interesting because he was really kind of picked up off the scrap heap and was productive for them. So
Yeah, he was on the Cardinals
practice
practice
squad, yeah,
squad, right? All right,
yeah.
want to get that right. Uh, what's next for the Green Bay Packers? Another year dealing with Aaron Rodgers. That's what's next. All right. Again, he tweeted and posted all this last dance stuff on Instagram, and just for him to just for him to return back to the team, he disrespected the organization as a whole, just for them to take him back and pay him. Right? I think what you said the last time we talked about his deal, that like resonated with me. Like I don't think he can't take not being talked about.
Yeah, I mean, if he signs a 4-year deal, like he's going to finish his career as Green Bay. Like there's no conversation about Aaron Rodgers.
So all and it's how he words his statements, like the what he said about the contract. All like I'm coming back to Green Bay, but the deal that's reported that I signed was not the deal I signed. Okay, bro, like all you had to say was I'm coming back to Green Bay, year 18, happy to be back. Leave it at that.
Yeah,
You ain't have to say none of
he was
that
never he
bullshit.
was never gonna he's never gonna do that though. Come on.
I don't, bro. I was thinking of it from the organizational standpoint. Like I've already gone through this. I literally have a blueprint on how to handle this. So that tells me two things. One, you were already talking about keeping him, and two, you definitely don't want to see Jordan Love out there. So everybody started photoshopping Jordan Love, like a old man Jordan Love. Like we're finally gonna see Jordan Love debut, and he's gray in the face. He's got wrinkles. I'm like, so so you gonna have to trade him or keep him there, like just to continue to keep him there. So you got to make a decision on that. 28th overall, right? What are you gonna do with that pick? Are you gonna make a smart pick, or are you gonna continue to be the Green Bay Packers?
Well, if history could say anything, they're going to make a not a great pick. They have holes at wide receiver. They're going to need something at linebacker because they're not going to be able to keep Devondre Campbell. Um, I mean, yeah, I mean it's all about. I mean, sure they got Aaron Rodgers back this season, but we're talking about major cap casualties here, like big parts of the roster. We're talking Zadarius Smith. They're going to save $15 million if they cut him, which I'm pretty sure they're going to. Randall Cobb is going to be probably a cap casualty. $7 million to save him. Mason Crosby, who had an up and down season anyways, $2.3 million if you cut him before the whatever the date is, the deadline. So like they're $51 million, $53 million over the cap with 41 players signed. So they need to get to 53. How are you going to sign 12 more players with negative $53 million? How?
Can't.
You can't. You can't. You're gonna have to. You're gonna have to. There's gonna be people you're gonna have to get. You're gonna have to cut, and are not gonna be on this roster when it starts. And it's
And
gonna be
was
major pieces. And the Aaron Rodgers contract extension is not gonna make that easier going forward. It's only gonna make it harder.
so for
From
all
whatever he
your
signed, obviously, because we don't know still to this day. It's been almost like 3 days, and the contract, the details of his whatever he signed, still has not been released.
so like we're all about excuse me, we're all about players getting their money. Right? Get paid, young man, get paid. Why? Because you ain't gonna be able to do this forever. Especially Aaron Rodgers, you're 37, bro. You're old. In football terms, you're old. Right? 17 years going on year 18, you're old. Right? There's a reason, looking at Tom Brady and guys like Peyton Manning when he had the Colts going on deep runs and whatnot. Like, there's a reason those two teams were able to stay competitive and get free agents to come. Notably because those guys were able to be able to talk into taking pay cuts and constantly restructuring their deals to keep a Gronk, to keep a Julian Edelman, to keep a Marvin Harrison, and then later a Reggie Wayne and Dallas Clark.
And when he went to Denver, I mean, the way Peyton Manning his contract was the reason they were able to sign amended standards. Nobody thought they'd be able to get him, and all of a sudden they had amended standards.
And DeMarcus Ware.
Yeah, and DeMarcus Ware. True.
And
TJ Ward, all of those guys.
All those guys
that ended up being part of the no-fly district were all they possibly because of Peyton Manning's willingness to take less money.
So, Aaron, I want you to get your bread. Cool. But on the flip side of that is, you can't get mad when the team doesn't have the money to go out and get free agents, but you already know that, which is why you're even more mad that in a draft that's receiver deep, right? They give you Eric Stokes at corner. They give you Jordan Love at QB the next year, right? The one other receiver you draft out of Clemson, Amari Rodgers, you use him primarily as a punt return or as a returner, and he had a hard time holding on to punts this year. So if he can't if you're Aaron Rodgers, you're probably thinking he can't hold on to punts. How the hell he gonna hold on to me throwing him the ball?
Yeah. So the NFC North is kind of an interesting division to talk about what's next. Let's swing into the AFC West. And the first thing we want to talk about is the Los Angeles Chargers. So they're the other part of this Khalil Mack trade. So obviously they're receiving Khalil Mack in the trade. On the Charger end of this, what are your thoughts on the Charger end of the Khalil Mack trade?
Stay healthy, for the love of God. And not just him, not just Khalil Mack. Can Joey Bosa stay healthy? Can Derwin James stay healthy? If those three dudes stay healthy for that defense, all hell is gonna break loose. And I mean that's it.
And not to mention they didn't have to give a first-round pick, so if they still end up with Jordan Davis to play their defensive tackle position,
my God,
imagine that.
Good night, Irene. Good night, Irene. Year 2 under Brandon Staley. You gotta look at it this way. I was how many years? I was a game out of the playoffs. I get one stop.
You could make the argument Brandon Staley had a bunch of rookie coaching moments during his rookie season as a coach.
Yeah, going for it on fourth.
Going for it on fourth down a lot. Way more than anyone should ever. Also, basically calling that timeout against the Las Vegas Raiders that basically sealed the fact that you were not going to go to the playoffs. He also had some other semi-rookie mistakes where he overcoached his team. I think with a year under his belt to get more acclimated what it takes to be an NFL head coach, he'll get better.
And that's where and that staff grew together. That's where this offseason, everybody called, coming to the room and it's hey, coach, I love you. I love the grittiness. I love the gutsiness of your style. Bruh, every fourth down ain't made the same. If it's 4th and 3 and you're in Kansas City territory, right? If you're midfield and Pat Mahomes is on the other side, yeah, okay, I don't mind you going for that because I damn sure don't want him to get the ball back, right, at
And
all.
you gotta think about it. Justin Herbert is your best chance. Like he is so like we talked about this during the season last year. If the Chargers could stand Justin Herbert right now, they would.
They would.
Like
They absolutely would.
they would. They would. They just would. Like that's how freaking good he's been. Like
So yeah, like the best thing you can hope for them. What's next for them? Just get everybody healthy, man. Like I do not want to face a front with Khalil Mack on one side and Joey Bosa on the other. And let's not act like the offensive lines in the AFC West are stellar, because they're not.
there's for sure not. For sure not.
So you're able to keep Mike Williams. All right, you re-sign him. I think, in my humble opinion, I think they need more help at running back. I'm not saying go running back at 17. Like, please don't do that.
I do really like Austin.
I
don't think he's an every down back.
I think that's what I think that's where the game is going, right? Like if history has shown you, you don't want running backs to have 200 plus touches a year. Like you want to divvy that up as best you can. It's like the whole running back by committee thing is that's actually the way to go. If I look at it this way: I have 300 carries, right? If I give one running back one, another running back two, and then that third running back potentially like anywhere from like 50 to 70 carries, that helps me out. That way everybody stays fresh. And on the flip side of that, the defense don't know what's coming next. That's why I think it's important to have three different running backs who do three different things. I need a speed guy, I need a power guy, and I probably need a guy that does a little bit of both of that.
I mean, that's what I think. But I mean, they do it. Yeah, I would probably draft a running back somewhere in this draft, somebody they can rely on. But I actually kind of like their running back. They still have Justin Jackson, still have Larry Roundtree, who had
yeah. I mean, like I feel like you're chasing
Josh Kelly.
Yeah, you're chasing that guy in KC. That's who you're going after. Right? That's who stands in your way. That's at the top of the mountain in your division. Right? You want to be the king of the mountain? You gotta slay the guy that lives up there first. So
yeah. And then looking at their notable free agents, Linval Joseph, I hope I have excellent spelled it wrong. Chris Harris Jr., Jared Cook, who was a big part of the passing attack last season. I imagine none of these guys will be back outside of Chris Harris Jr.
No, and Jared Cook is a consummate pro, right? Consummate pro. Like the problem that people have with Jared Cook is he's played on down to every team in the NFL. And
well, I think a lot of people expect him to be even better than he is because of his athleticism and how big he is. But he always seems to come up a little bit short with that. Like the standards other people set for himself, and not so much his own standards. But like everywhere he goes, like Jared Cook's like, oh my god, this guy's gonna be like the last piece of a great offense. It never worked out that way.
Which I get, like in my opinion, that's why the tight end is like the perfect offensive weapon. They're too big for they're too big for DBs. They're too fast for linebackers. That's why they're the perfect offensive weapon to me. Who's the next team?
Moving on from there, we got the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, here we go.
We talked about the Russell Wilson trade to death. So we'll just touch on it briefly. Talk about the new head coach there in Denver, and then offensive line concerns. Notable free agents: Kyle Fuller, Melvin Gordon, Kareem Jackson. Looking at Nathaniel Hackett, the new head coach of the Broncos, came over. Big.
Okay, offensive line concerns. Obviously, that's that. Well, what pick? Where? Oh, they don't have a first round pick.
Yeah, they don't have. They traded their first round pick.
So when is their first pick?
Hold on. Their first pick is second round. They have 64. So they have one second round pick. They got 2 third round picks. They have a 4th, a fifth, 1/6, 7.
Okay. Well, obviously, your primary goal is to get some protection for Russell Wilson. Right? That should be primary goal number one. Unless you try to trade back into. You said they have a second.
Yeah, it's picks number 64.
Unless you try to move up in the second round, because I don't think you can get a first for any of the weapons that you got. Right?
Um, Unlikely. I mean, but so you're gonna limit your offensive capabilities by trading away an offensive weapon to get an offensive lineman. It's kind of like one of those situations where if you have better offensive weapons, your offensive line doesn't block as long. But if you have a better offensive line, you don't necessarily need as good offensive weapons.
Right, right.
So like it's like one of those things where it's like I don't know.
Well, first things first. That should be priority number one. We saw some games this year, notably that one against Kansas City, where they gave KC all they could handle. It took a missed block on Melvin Ingram and Nick Bolton picking up the fumble and returning it for a touchdown to basically seal that game for you. Drew Lock, the one shining bright moment that Drew Lock gave the Denver Bronco fan base was that game. That was the game where folks were like, "That's the Drew Lock we've been looking for." That one right there.
I mean, minus the 50% completion percentage, and
Minus the 56% completion
or
percentage.
the 50%.
Yes.
So,
50% completion.
yeah, 12 out of
Yeah,
24.
my bad. Minus that. But the athletics, like the way he was moving around in the pocket, the athleticism, he had 2 rushing touchdowns that game.
He did.
Right? Like that's the that's the Drew Lock you were looking for. And you traded that away. You traded him away for Russell Wilson, obviously, so you won that trade. Right? You've been saying for like you've had 11 starting, well, now 12 starting different quarterbacks since Peyton Manning decided to, ride off into the sunset. Like since the sheriff put the gun back in the holster for the last time,
Uh,
you've had 12 different starting quarterbacks, including Russell Wilson. 12. And this
yeah.
is a guy, and this is an organization who was, led by one of the best quarterbacks of all time, and John Elway, right? And this is another organization who kind of needs to let go of the John Elway era, right? It's like, let it go. He did what he did. He got you 2. It's nice. He's gonna eat for free in Denver for
Forever.
the rest of. For I'm pretty sure if he could live free, he probably would. I mean, they would probably allow that, but
I totally agree with you. Yeah, offensive line has to be the number one priority. And I also think that they're going to try to re-sign Melvin Gordon. I think he's too valuable not to re-sign him.
Well, he wants to stay. I think they want to keep him. So you love to see
And
that.
that two-headed monster between Javonte Williams is pretty special last year. So I don't think they can break that up.
And again, right, if I'm Russell Wilson, I need that. I need both of them. I think Denver should be concerned with more pressing issues, and that's the sell of their team. Like I think that trumps literally all of this because that's pretty important.
Yeah, I mean, and if you put a good quality product out here, you're more than likely going to get somebody to buy the team.
Oh, and Kanye West, Antonio
Brown, I saw that.
You're not gonna buy the team. I don't think y'all. I don't, and I say this respectfully. I don't even think y'all are gonna get a phone call. Like forget hey bro, forget a seat at the table, forget a meeting. They not gonna even get a phone call to set that shit up.
I probably agree with you on that. There's no way they're gonna let either of those two people own a team in the National League. Moving over from the Denver Broncos to the Las Vegas Raiders. So they hired a new head coach, Josh McDaniels. They have major question marks at wide receiver outside of his name is escaping me. I'll look it up in a second. They have the 22nd overall pick in the draft. Notable free agents: Casey Hayward, Jonathan Hankins, KJ Wright. Direction for the Las Vegas Raiders.
Find a direction. Like last year, like what's his name? Who's the head coach now? Josh McDaniels. All right. Sketchy past.
Hunter.
Hunter Renfro's a free agent.
No. That was a wide receiver because outside of that, they don't have a lot to talk
about. Josh McDaniels, he's coming in with a checker pass himself, right?
Yeah, a terrible tint in Denver as the head coach there, and then accepting that Colts job and then backing out last minute.
So you're trying to, you're trying to get rid of this ugly ass shadow that was casted on your organization with John Gruden and his emails getting leaked, Henry Ruggs committing the crime that he did, Damon Arnett going IG live with AR-15s and MAC-10s, doing dumb shit like that. Slot corner, 6th-round pick out of Illinois, Nate Hobbs, also getting the DUI after all of that shit went down, and it's like, dude, really, like it's one of those like, bro, like seriously, like all the shit that we got going on, and you decide to add on to it. All right, now don't get me wrong, you had some highlights, right? The firing of John Gruden got us to stop asking the Derek Carr questions.
Yeah, I mean, I think those questions are probably still going to be asked. I still give him some long-term potential.
If in a way, it got him to play free. Like Derek Carr didn't have to worry about every time he messed up or missed a throw or made a pick, he's looking over his shoulder like at that ugly ass Chucky face that John Gruden would make, So you got a free of conscience, free of mind Derek Carr, and we saw him guide this team who we thought was a sinking ship. He was able to plug the holes somewhat and get to the wild card. He did that. Derek Carr did that, so hats off to him. Question marks.
Definitely hats off to him.
Question marks at literally everything. Receiver, Hunter Renfrow does not get talked about. When we talk best route runners, throw white boy name in there.
I think that's probably why he doesn't get talked about.
Because you remember how Devontae Adams basically broke Jalen Johnson's ankles on that 2-yard touchdown pass that he
yeah.
And it went viral. Hunter Renfrow did the same thing. Do you think that went viral?
No, of course not.
Hunter, he's today's Wes Welker. He's a younger Julian Edelman. That's who Hunter Renfrow is. Hunter Renfrow is the prototypical chain mover. Hey, it's 3rd and 8. Renfrow, get me 10.
Yeah, 3rd and Renfrow. They used to call it.
3rd and Renfrow, exactly. He's the guy that caught the game-winning touchdown against Bama in the national championship. That's him.
And he caught a lot of game-winning touchdowns. I think he caught the game-winning touchdown when the Raiders beat the Browns too, and I think he also caught the game-winning first down for when they were playing the Colts as well. Yeah, I mean the dude. But outside of him, there's major question marks. Zay Jones, he's free agent. You don't expect him back. Brian Edwards was a decent highlight spot for here and there, but he didn't really put it all together. Deshaun Jackson's gonna be gone. Darren Waller needs to stay healthy. Foster Moreau, a decent tight end, if they want to run 2 tight end sets. But I think this really comes down to the growth of the defense, because this defense got better last season as opposed to before, and the season went on. I mean, Max Crosby's one of the top 10 defensive ends in the league, maybe even 5, depending on how you feel about him. Yannick Ngakoue, probably a fringe top 15 defensive end. They have some nice pieces here. Trayvon Mulrig had a really good Jonathan Abram.
Mm-hmm.
He just hits people hard. And so they have some nice pieces on this defense, on a defense that was better than people thought it would be last year. And then now they have to figure out this offensive line. Ricky Uche kind of is a free agent. Alex Leatherwood didn't really work out at right tackle or left tackle. So they're probably going to move him to guard, and maybe they address that in the draft. Maybe that's the direction they go with their 22nd overall pick in the draft.
Yeah, New coach, new system. So you got to kind of think like, what kind of system does Josh McDaniels want to, implement? Like, like he's been spoiled a lot. Like he goes from Tom Brady to Tim Tebow. That's setback. Back to Tom Brady, win some more Super Bowls. You go from and then you leave Tom. You don't leave Tom Brady. Tom Brady leaves, and then you inherit Mac Jones, who, all things considering, all things showing, Mac Jones is gonna be he's gonna be solid for the next decade. Hopefully he stays healthy. And if you're Josh McDaniel, you go from you go to Derek Carr. Derek Carr, I like in the situation of Carson Wentz. Like, Derek Carr is going to be AFC Offensive Player of the Year. And then he messes up his leg.
Broke his bracket or something, like his leg. Yeah, broke his tibia.
Yeah, he broke his tibia. All right. They go 12-4. He breaks his leg. They go to the playoffs and they get bounced. They won and done. All because.
I mean, he earns a 12-4 record. He doesn't even get to play in the playoff. That he led them.
That he led them to, exactly. And
so yeah, we'll see what's on the tap here for the Las Vegas Raiders. They have a couple different directions they can go when it comes to their free agency, when it comes to their draft pick. So moving on to the final team in the AFC West, got the Kansas City Chiefs, and they're find another consistent weapon outside Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, retooling this defense when it comes to the Honey Badger, probably resign him, and you're losing Melvin from, and then they have the 30th pick in this year's draft. Notable free agents, obviously the Honey Badger, Anthony Hitchens. Thoughts?
Well, I'm keeping the Honey Badger. Like, he, to me, is the straw that stirs the drink that is the Kansas City Chiefs defense, and was it ever so evident in that playoff game when some guy named Gabriel Davis, who I never heard of prior to that game, was able to just literally run up the seam and catch
over and over and over again.
What was it, like 3 touchdowns?
Yeah.
3 or 4?
He had like 200 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns.
That don't happen if Honey Badger's there.
No.
Like, we had Gabriel Davis, like, looking like he was the next big thing. We were like, whoa, okay.
He caught 4.
And it's 4 touchdowns. Like, 4 touchdowns that game, bro. Like, how many yards?
200 yards exactly. He passed 200 yards, 4 touchdowns.
So half his catches were touchdowns.
Yeah.
The one thing, he had one where he broke homeboy ankles so bad that I don't think Honey Badger could have helped that one. Because I'd have been like, if that was me, I'd have laughed at my team like, damn, bro, hey, he got you. I can't even do nothing about that one. Hey, sometimes a touchdown's so cold, it's like to the point where it's like, hey, bro, what you want me to do? All right, retooling the defense. That's the direction I gotta go. All right, Honey Badger, Melvin Ingram. I think they gotta get young at pass rush. They need that. I like Nick Bolton.
I do like Nick Bolton. Got a really good.
I like Nick Bolton. I think Kansas City fans everywhere want 44 off the team. Because every time 44 was in the game, quarterbacks targeted him. Right? They all right, there's your weak link. I'm going right at him. And there's nothing you can do about it until you get him out the game. So I would go that. Like, I think they can. I think I think this is another heavy receiver draft where they can try to find a third option outside of Kelce and Tyreek Hill, who I will still say to this day is very lucky they didn't throw a taunting penalty on him for doing the peace outside when
he is extremely lucky they decided not to.
Because you know what happens if they throw that? Because since it happened in the field of play, the touchdown's negated.
Yeah.
Right? So imagine if you're Tyreek Hill and the one time the refs decide to look the other way. Imagine if they didn't. Right? Imagine if the game's over at that point. Yeah. That's game.
Yeah.
Right. You lost. You lost the game all because Tyreek Hill wanted to piece out a defender. Right? Lucky. Thank his lucky stars. You're an AFC championship team again. Right? You're gonna be one. As long as Mahomes stays healthy. But the one thing you're gonna have to worry about eventually is when Mahomes' contracts start to take over and the rest of those guys get expensive, right? So are you willing to go into salary cap hell to keep the title window open? As long as you, I feel like as long as you got Mahomes, Hill, and Kelsey, your your floor is AFC Championship. That's your floor.
I 100% agree with you. I mean, you can continue to build this defense on cheap. That means through the draft and hit on players like Nick Bolton, who's a second round pick, and have players on your team like Darius Ward, who is a free agent actually. They're gonna have to figure out how they're gonna sign him because he may get extended. They
I
traded for
don't know.
Clark. They drafted Chris Jones. Got lucky on him. Um,
And I don't know what the tag options are. Like Kyle
well,
Long,
they already used their tag on Orlando.
they tagged who?
Orlando Brown Jr.
Oh, they tagged Zeus. All right. So, what's his Kyle Long is probably retired again.
Yeah,
I think.
I mean he's not. Yeah, he's like. Joe Tooney was awesome this last season. Creed Humphrey was a really nice. And then Mike Remmers was fine. Lucas
Right,
Niang
and-
is the guy they wanted. The guy. Hurt.
Okay, so you have a direction of where you want to go offensively. I mean, it's the other end, right? You got to stop some folks. You got to stop some folks. You got to generate some pressure. You got to do all that good stuff.
Yeah, so I think they may go edge draft or edge or corner, like one of those two areas, because a bunch of their corners are all free. Like Daniel Sorensen, who was not
That's
good,
what.
but all that.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Like Sorensen, like wherever he was on the field, that's who they target. That's who teams targeted. I'm going after him.
He's a free agent. He wasn't particularly blessed. His birthday might be like today. Anyways.
Well, I'm just drank for you, Sorensen. Happy birthday, brother.
Yeah, his birthday was he has the same birthday as you actually.
Oh, yes, so me, Sorensen, and Justin Fields got the same birthday. Moped.
There you go.
Hey, that's cool.
There you go.
Today's Zach LaVine's birthday, but that's crossover stuff. Happy birthday, Zach LaVine. Kansas City. You've been in the title picture since Mahomes was since Mahomes' name started. Like some folks say that they probably cost themselves a Super Bowl sitting Mahomes that one year, and I'm like, let's not go that far. Come on.
That's a little wrong. I think it might be.
I'm not going that far, but eventually the Mahomes is going to become expensive, and a lot of guys.
If he hasn't already.
If he hasn't already.
They've just been lucky. They've been able to hit on draft picks. Like the guys they've drafted have worked out.
And the one conversation that they're going to have pretty soon is Andy Reid. He can't coach forever.
I think Eric Bieniemy is potentially being coached for this their apparent.
And that's the direction I would go. If I'm the Kansas City Brass, I'm like, no one wants this guy. It's been 3 years and no one wants to hire this guy. All right, hey, bro.
He's the offensive coordinator of the most prolific offense in the league. Nobody wants to hire him.
So yeah, I'm gonna give the NFL fucking nightmares for the next 30 years because I'm gonna keep my quarterback and I'm gonna keep his offensive coordinator. I'm just gonna elevate him to head coach.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that.
So if I'm Kansas City, hey, just keep riding away, man. Your floor is the AFC Championship until Denver. Yeah, they just got rust, but until they jail, I ain't too worried about it. Same thing with Oakland. Same thing with Vegas and the Chargers. Until they jail and come together, this division, I'm still looking at it like this.
I need Denver and Chargers at least to make the playoffs before I'm willing to put them in for the same strategy.
That's what I'm saying. Like, hey, this division is mine. The conference still runs through me. Cincinnati, I'm telling Cincinnati to their face, hey, bro, you got lucky. You got lucky.
Yeah, we played like horse manure in the second half of that game. So we play how we normally play. We beat.
Like, I'm not saying, like, keep in mind that TJ Hopkins is not saying since he got lucky. I'm not saying that. If I'm the Chiefs, if I'm anybody on the Chiefs, I'm looking at Cincinnati like, yo, you got lucky, right? You got lucky. Play me 100 times out of 100, I'm beating your ass 100 times out of 100. That's how I'm coming at this, right? And I hope they play each other next season on the schedule.
I mean, they will. But they both won the division. So they for sure will play each other.
Make it happen.
Yeah, it'll be on primetime television. sure.
Make it happen.
But yeah, but that's been our What Next series. We broke down the NFC North and the AFC West on the heels of the Khalil Mack trade that happened this morning. Or I think it might have been this afternoon. I don't really know. I was too busy working. All of a sudden, I get blown up. My phone was like going crazy. Like, oh, Khalil Mack. I'm like, oh, all right. Well,
Bro, I was at the gym. I was at the gym, pumping some iron. All of a sudden, I see a picture of someone screenshotting Adam Schefter's tweet. Bears are finalizing the trade with the Chargers to send Khalil Mack. I was like, and you saw what I said in the group chat. I'm like, you look at it from two ways, right? One, he ain't getting no younger. He's spent the last 2 seasons on IR. He's given us 15 sacks in those 2 seasons. He frees up hella cap room.
Next season, I think we're gonna have like $123 million.
$123 million in cap space in 2023. On the flip side, you look at that like every other Bears fan is probably looking at it like, who are we gonna get that's gonna replace him?
Oh, I guess that's we'll figure it out as the time goes on, Mr. Hopkins. Thank you very much for joining us here at Prime Sports World.
Before we go, Packer fans, the Bears did not, you are not the organization or fan base to talk about wasting the player's prime. Do not play that game. You will fucking lose.
Me and TJ will be back here tomorrow when we do the crossover. I have no idea what we're going to cover, but we're going to do some stuff with the crossover tomorrow. So join us for that show. We're going to probably get started around 11. Thank you very much for joining us.
Do you have Brooklyn and Philly on right now?
No, I don't have it. I will, though, after this.
It's a blowout.
Okay.
It's a blowout. I'm gonna leave it to you to figure out who's blowing who out. It's a blowout.
Yeah, so we'll be back here tomorrow doing the crossover. I'm with David Huffman right there. It's TJ Hopkins. TJ, what we do here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring the heat, kind sir.
Yeah, we do it. We need it because it's snowing here a lot.
Man, I'm so sick of the fucking snow.
I'll see you tomorrow. Good night, buddy.
Good night, man.